Alison Thewliss.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I thank the Minister for advance sight of his statement. May I first start by saying that I think his consideration of the housing problem that England faces is referring to it as a housing market and referring to rungs of the ladder. That reference to a market strikes me as being the problem, because as we move through life, our housing needs changed. It's more a spectrum of housing needs that people have, rather than being one ladder that is up and down and entirely being based on purchase of property. We need to look at the whole mix of housing that's available to people right across the UK. He mentions changes to local plans, and I would ask perhaps that he might want to speak to the Housing Minister in the Scottish Government, Kevin Stewart, because we have a system called Strategic Housing Investment Plans that local authorities have, in which they set out investment priorities for affordable housing. They then demonstrate how those will be delivered, they identify resources, and then they enable the involvement of key partners. And it's that cooperation with the range of key partners that makes this a consideration that he might want to look at in more depth. He also fails to mention within the statement the issue of right to buy, and right to buy has driven this crisis in England because the housing stock has reduced because of right to buy, and these houses have not been replaced. Since the Scottish Government brought this in, we have kept 15,000 homes in the social rented sector and protected that stock for future generations to have the use of, which is absolutely vital. The Government is also making house building in the social rented sector more difficult, particularly because of the 1% rent cap, which at a stroke reduced the ability of social rented housing providers to carry on with their investment plans, with the future of those plans, where they may have had things in the pipeline that they wanted to do and then found their resources cut and their ability to carry that out significantly reduced. And I would urge him to reconsider that 1% cap. I think that it is important that he looks at the full spectrum of housing, that it isn't limited to a market, to houses to purchase, because if he does not do so, the UK Government will continue to fail so many people that are in vital housing need.
Secretary of State.
Madam Deputy Speaker, the Honourable Lady makes a number of points, and many of them actually covered in the Housing White Paper that was published in February. And if she hasn't found the time to read it so far, then she might want to refamiliarise herself if she has already read it. But I'll pick up on a couple of the points. The first was that she's about having the right mix of homes, and of course she's absolutely right. We've got to make sure that our local plans, as they're developed, they take account, for example, the needs of older people, the needs of young families and others, and that is exactly a set of changes that were articulated through the White Paper. She's also mentioned the right to buy and the SNP's opposition to people having the right to buy their own home, which I'm sure that her constituents have heard, and that is one big difference between her approach and the Scottish Government's approach and people on this side of the House. We believe that everyone should have the right to own their own home.